1 second.
And I want to ask the devotees that are on the line to volunteer.
All right, forgive me for that.
Because I don't want to mute people out, and then they won't be able to ask a question or something.
Yeah.
So if everyone could actually press *6 and mute themselves out, and I don't have to do it.
Okay, so we are back. We had to take a break for a second here. Yeah, devotees on the phone. Yeah, if you could mute out yourselves by pressing *6, that's going to be really helpful. Okay, so we were discussing that we had started our discussions by discussing the Paramatma Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami Pad, and we had discussed what is the ontological analysis of the Atma itself. From that point, we went into how the Atma had become bound in the material world. We discussed that it was not a historical event, but rather it is something in the very nature of the Atma itself, right? That prior to the descent of spiritual energy called Swarup Shakti, the Jiva has from time without any beginning been in the cycle of samsara, along with its karma and everything else, been in a continuous cycle from a time without beginning. We discussed last week that cycle is broken. That cycle is broken because the very word anadi means something that has no beginning, but it does have an end. So the end of that cycle of samsara happens when any fortunate jiva and atma are synonyms, when any fortunate jiva comes in contact with Guru Sadhu. I quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmanda Brahmati Konya Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadhe Poi Bhakti Lata Bij. When any fortunate soul, having wandered throughout the entire material cosmos in one reincarnation cycle after another, becomes very fortunate, they meet Sadhu Guru. At that time, they receive the seed of devotion. That seed first appears as mati. If you want to have reference for these things I'm speaking, the other classes are posted so you can go back and reference them. But it first appears as mati. Mati means like a point of discrimination. It also means inclination. So here, when mati arises, the consistent narrative that the jivas had in terms of vicariously identifying with material energy, that is broken. And now the jiva says, oh, who am I? What is my real nature? And an inclination towards finding that truth begins in the jiva. So we discussed last week that the only way this can happen is through Sadhu Guru, that there is no other means. The jiva is incapable of extricating him or herself from this cycle of samsara, because that power comes via Swarup Shakti, which is not in the jiva. It actually is there in the Sadhu Guru, and from the mercy of Sadhu Guru, the Jivatma in this world receives Swarup Shakti, and the smallest part of that Swarup Shakti manifests as faith. So last week we also discussed faith, and we discussed how faith is the sort of propellant. It is the actual energy that moves the jiva progressively away from material bondage and progressively on the path of spiritual life. Now, this week we're discussing what is that spiritual life that the Jivatma moves towards. I mentioned last week that once mati arises, it is a very delicate position for the jiva, because at that point the interest in material life begins to wane, but without any clear spiritual directive, without any clear spiritual path, right? There are many pseudo-spiritual things that can come in. Also, the mode of goodness, sattva gun, it sometimes masks as a spiritual power. Sattva gun is also within the three modes of material nature, but Bhagavad Gita says two things take place with the mode of goodness. One is it gives a false sense of happiness. And two, it also, not a false sense of happiness, but conditions one to wanting happiness in the material world. Secondly, it conditions one to a false sense of knowledge. So you can see that sometimes if we become involved, and I'm not denigrating the mode of goodness, because certainly we want to live a mode of goodness life. The life of bhakti is naturally, as a natural byproduct of living in bhakti, the mode of goodness is normally established, right? Because your habits are very regulated, there's cleanliness, there's mental purity. The food that we now eat is pure because we tend to eat according to a proper Vedic diet and so forth and so on. So it's not that the mode of goodness is something bad, but when we take the mode of goodness without taking the ultimate aspect of the mode of goodness, which is pure bhakti, then the mode of goodness itself can also condition us. And it's simply a material. It's like there are three kinds of shackles that are described in the material world. One made of iron, one made of silver, and one made of gold. So it's described, long story short, that the mode of goodness is like shackles made of gold. They're very attractive, they're very beautiful, they're very shiny, but still nonetheless, they bind us to the material world. So in the stage where the jiva is just breaking their bondage from material energy, the kind of association they have is extremely important. So we just got through delineating the faults that are there in a simple mode of goodness modality of living when you come to that stage. Now, sometimes also other kinds of spiritual practices will enter. But except for bhakti, the predominant theme of most spiritual practices, especially the ones that have come to the West, are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Therefore, in the pranam mantra of our Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Krishna consciousness movement, it is mentioned, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So he says that part of his mission was to come to destroy the tendencies of those jivas who have now broken their desire for contact with material life, but who have now been overwhelmed by the flood of Nirvisheshvad, which means impersonalism, and Sunyavad, which is akin to Buddhism. Now, this is also not a denigration of Buddhism also, so I just want to be clear that we're speaking about the philosophical teachings that end either in impersonal conception or voidist conceptions. So Srila Prabhupada came to destroy those things in terms of them being viable paths as opposed to the wonderful, fulfilled path of bhakti. So, bhakti has been described in many, many scriptures. Of course, our basic praman, the sastra which we hold to be the most complete form of praman, praman means evidence for any kind of truth, is Srimad Bhagavatam. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's clearly mentioned there in 1 to 6. Savai pum samparo dharmo yato bhaktir arhoiksaje ahoitaki aprityata ye yatma suprasedati. So this description of bhakti was given by Sutta Goswami, and it was given based on inquiry by the sages at Namasharanya. So I'm not telling that whole backstory. I don't think it's necessary. Devotees can certainly read Srimad Bhagavatam and understand the context of the questions and the answers by reading the first chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But here, and the second chapter. But here, Sutta Goswami is essentially answering the question of the sages at Namasharanya. One of those questions, they asked 6 questions, one of those questions was, what kind of dharma or practice can completely satisfy everyone? So why would they ask everyone? Because at the gathering at Namasharanya, there were unlimited amounts of people with all different kinds of different backgrounds. There were great rishis and yogis. There were great mystics. There were ordinary people. There were royalty. There were so many people there, just as there was at the gathering when Maharaj Parikshit was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami. So many different people gathered. Similarly, when Sutta Goswami was going to repeat that Bhagavatam, there were many different people there. So the sages who were leading that assembly, they asked, please tell us a dharma that will be suitable to give satisfaction to everyone. On the basis of that question, Sutta Goswami answered, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo, the supreme dharma, the highest category of dharma, is that dharma which yato bhaktir ahoksaje, which brings one in contact through bhakti with adhoksaja. Adhoksaja is another name of Krishna, which means that person who's transcendental to all the senses, beyond the material world. So that kind of dharma, which is bhakti, that brings one in contact with Bhagavan. And how does it bring one in contact with Bhagavan? It must be ahoitaki. Ahoitaki means, hetu means a cause. Ahoitaki means it must be without any other cause. And aprityata means it must be uninterrupted. So to serve Bhagavan in an uninterrupted flow without any other cause. But here, this is the difficulty. It does not express it fully what a hoitaki is. This is why we're building on the definition of pure bhakti. Because here, hoitaki is not fully expressed. But it says, without any cause, right? And without any break or interruption, this, yeyatma suprasidati. So supra means, su means very good, and pra means prakrishtarupain completely. So yes, this kind of practice of pure bhakti, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, that can completely satisfy everyone. So why did Sutta Goswami say like this? Because he was not only speaking to those who were aspiring for pure bhakti. And there's actually written in Srimad Bhagavatam, Akama, Savakama, Vamoksha Kama Udharadihi, Tyavena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. It does not matter whether you have all kinds of material desires or you have no material desire. No material desires, akam. Savakam, if you have all kinds of material desires. Vamoksha, if your aspiration is for moksha or liberation from material world. So liberation means everything simply from the cessation of suffering or perceived suffering through your vicarious identification with the material energy. Everything from freedom from that suffering to the attainment of Vaikuntha, all the way to actually bhakti in terms of braj bhakti. Because all are liberated conditions, right? They have various gradations, but they're all liberated conditions. So whether you have no desires, all desires, whether you want to be liberated, still, bhakti is the supreme path for all those persons because ultimately it brings the most complete satisfaction. So how will it bring the most complete satisfaction to someone who's sarvakam, who has all material desires? That person, by the practice of bhakti, if that bhakti is genuine bhakti, under the guidance of genuine sadhu, by natural comparison, gradually their material desires will go away. Krishna himself has mentioned this in Bhagavad Gita. Raso vrajam rasopyasya param drishva nivartate. Naturally, by experiencing a higher taste, because everyone is impelled by what gives them taste. Taste essentially means, rasa is the word that's used here. So rasa has a definition in relation to spiritual activity, but rasa also means jadras. Jadras means the taste that we have in the material world, because nobody could maintain connection, even vicariously with something, if they weren't deriving some kind of perceived pleasure from it. And the reason I say perceived pleasure is because we know in the material world there is no actual pleasure. So whatever perceived pleasure we're getting out of the material world is what keeps people attached to the continual cycle of samsara. Right? So even for that person who's sarvakam, who has all desires, if they get the association of pure sadhus, pure guru, by the association and by the influence of Swarup Shakti coming in the form of Harikatha, sadhu or guru seva, chanting of Harinam, wonderful festivals like today, like Govardhan Puja. All of these things will embed a taste in the heart of that person that will make them say, oh, I will give up that jadras, that material rasa, to pursue param drisva, this higher taste embedded in spiritual rasa. So bhakti has this power. No other system has this power. No other path of liberation has this power. So, Sutta Goswami spoke, yes, anybody here. It does not, whatever your status is, whether you're among the yogis and gyanis here who want moksha, whether you are among those who are self-satisfied individuals, because the sages actually at one point they said, hey, don't forget, Yach Chinvatam Jnanam, Yach Chinvatam Jnanam, Rasa Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. Don't forget to also speak Rasa Gyan for those of us who are here for that. So also in that assimilate Namasharanya, there were those who were Rasik and Bhavuk, those who were actually bhaktas, and they came to hear the rasa of Srimad Bhagavatam. But to answer his question for the whole audience, Sutta Goswami gave this answer to define bhakti. Now in Bhakti Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami Pad has quoted this verse, and he's also quoted a verse from the Nada Pancharatra. That verse is Sava Upadi Vinayamuktam Tat Patvena Niyamalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. So in this verse, bhakti has also been described. Sava Upadi Vinayamuktam. So if you remember from our first class, we described what Upadi is. The Atma, when it vicariously identifies with the impressions of avidya, which is showing its influence on the chitta, right? Just in between the actual Atma and the material energy is a wall of consciousness. It is called the chitta. So the material energy is showing its influence on that chitta, and the Atma standing behind there is absorbed due to the influence of material energy and a lack of spiritual power called Chitbal or Swarup Shakti. They've become absorbed in looking at this narrative, this drama played out by the three modes of material nature on their chitta. Now, having become absorbed like that, they've taken false identities called ahamkara or upadi in succession from one birth to another in order to act out vicariously in that drama. So here, in the Nada Pancharatra, Nada Muni is saying, Sava upadi vinayamuktam, a person who has given up all of these senses, all this sense of false identity, upadis. That person has become free from that. Tat partvena nirmalam, and has realized that he is the nitya nirmal atma. Remember, when I was enumerating the qualities that Jiva Goswami Pad gave of the Atma, one of those qualities was Nitya Nirmala. That the Atma itself is never contaminated, it is Nitya Nirmala. So here, Tat Partvena Nirmala. That person who by Tat Partvena means by service, right, by the tendency for service to others, right, has realized their nature of being Nirmalam, without any contamination. What other person will be served? Rishikena Rishikesha. You will take all of your senses and serve that person who is actually the master or the origin of all the senses, who is Rishikesh. Rishikesh is one name for Bhagavan, which means who is the master of all senses. Your senses also are not your independent property. Everything has manifested from Bhagavan. Without Bhagavan, you have no existence. So everything belongs to Bhagavan. So Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. So Bhakti means Sevanam. Actually, the literal meaning of Bhakti, the dhatu, the verbal root of Bhakti is Bhaj. And it's explained, Bhaj dhatu itti sevayam. Right? Itti sevayam means the very meaning of Bhakti is to render service. So to render service, we need to know the object of whom we're rendering service to. Who is the object of our service? And what is the nature of that service? And how that service is rendered? So here, this description also is of pure bhakti. And though it is perfect description, because you cannot say Srimad Bhagavatam or the teachings of Narada Muni himself is the personification of bhakti. When Brahma was doing the engineering of the creation, from his heart Narada Muni manifested as the personification of bhakti. This is even after the four Kumaras had manifest. The four Kumaras, if you read in Srimad Bhagavatam and read the commentary, either Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, Vaishnav Toshini also, of Sanatana Goswami Pad, it mentions the four Kumaras personify the four qualities of tapasya, means austerity, yoga, gyan, and vairagya or renunciation. So they personify four qualities which would seem excellent to become free from the material world. But even if you have those four things, void of actual pure bhakti, still, they're not very wonderful. So even after manifesting in prasana, these four wonderful individuals, the four Kumaras, from the heart of Brahma came Nard, who's a personification of bhakti. Now, I'm not going into this, but Narada Muni, like Sri Prahalad Maharaj, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in his Sarta Darshanitika, they have expansions. Those expansions perform sadhana to show how one becomes perfect. So the story that you read of Narada Muni in Srimad Bhagavatam, becoming the son of a maid servant, having formerly been the Gandharva, Upabharana, etc., is the expansion of Nitya Parikaranard. Okay, I just wanted to make that point clear. So Narada Muni, he's speaking here, no, Savu Parivinaya Muktam Tat Parpena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana Bhakti, pure bhakti, to give your everything, all of your senses, in the service of the master of the senses, being freed from any other upadi. This is called pure bhakti. So both of these definitions have been quoted by our acharyas. But there's an amazing thing also. Bhagavan himself, when he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after realizing the pinnacle of bhakti in the form of Radha Prem, because even Bhagavan is going through various incarnations, the highest form of Bhagavan's incarnations in terms of Prem, it is called Bhakti Naipunya, or Prem Purushottam, is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Even in Krishna Leela, though one of the highest Leelas manifest, which is Ras Leela, in Ramananda Samvada mentioned, Samyak Saravasuna Krishnera Ras Leela, that the Ras Leela is one of the pinnacles of Bhagavan's all pastimes. But even after Braj Leela, Krishna himself declared, Purva Vraja Vilase Etina Vilas. Even after Braj Leela, Krishna says, still I'm remaining with three desires. What three desires? To know what is the Mahima of Radhika's Pranay. Mahima means glories. So Sri Radha Pranaya Mahima Kidraso Vanyeva. What is the glory of Radhika's Pranay, or her love? What is it that Radhika tastes? The four kinds of special madhuri that Krishna has. Leela madhuri, Vena madhuri, Rup madhuri, Prem Parikara madhuri. What way does Radhika taste this that gives her such excellent high class of bhav? Krishna could not experience these things. I don't want to have a class on Ujjwala Lamani. This is not our subject matter here. But if you study Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, later Ujjwala Lamani, you'll know that Bhagavan, when he performs Leela, even though Radha and Krishna are one, Radha Krishna Chayi Ek I Swarup, Leela Rase Ashadite Dari Dui Rup. They have taken two forms in order to experience Leela Ras. And the necessity of tasting Ras requires two, Asraya and Vishaya. So Krishna is the Vishaya of Rasa. Srimati Radhika is the Asraya. So Krishna is not in a position to taste what it is that Radhika tastes. So he wants to know what is the nature of her pranay, that even while Radhika is sitting on my lap, if she will hear Madhu Mangal say, oh, that Madhusudan is gone. I'm not telling whole pastime of Prem Sarovara here. But if she will hear this, just by having contact of any kind of udipan, means a stimulus, through her ear, she can go into a deep mood of separation even while sitting on my lap. Krishna can't fathom what kind of prem is this. So he wants to know the mahima of Radhika's prem. In this case, it is called pranay, and it's called pranay means, in Ujjwala Lamani, it's described as an intimacy. When all barriers have been broken down and lover and beloved have come together, this is called pranay. But I don't want to go off track here. So he wants to know what kind of pranay, because Radhika was on Krishna's lap. This is why he's asking. What kind of pranay is this? That separation can take place even when we're in such close proximity. Similarly, what is it about me that Radhika tastes in such a special way that she seems to experience happiness thousands of times more than I do? And again, what is that happiness? Sokyam chasya. What is that happiness that she experiences? So these three things Krishna was left unable to experience in Braj Leela, but in Gaur Leela, having accepted the mood and Nirvana Vastu means the color or kanti of Radhika, in Gaur Leela, he's able to taste these things. Prema Rasaniyas Kariteya Shadan. And to all the dear devotees he's had from previous incarnations, Rag, Marg, Bhakti Loke, Karite Pracharan. He preaches by his mercy to them the beauty of this Braj, intensity of this Braj praying. They don't change their swarups or anything, all the devotees of other incarnations. But through Gaur Leela, they taste the intensity of that kind of praying. So in this Gaur Leela, when Mahaprabhu himself is teaching to Rupa Goswami Pad, He empowers Rupa Goswami Pad. Vrindavananiyam Rasakeli Bhartam. Kalena Lupta. Vrindavananiyam Rasakeli Bhartam. Kalena Lupta. Nija Shakti Ukta. Sancharya Rupe. Vyatano Prabhu Sa. In the heart of Rupa Goswami Mahaprabhu, he gave all of his mercy. That mercy was of two kinds. One is Mahaprabhu emptied his heart. All of the things that Mahaprabhu realizes in Gaur Leela about the height of praying. That's why it's called Praying Purushottam. He emptied that into the vessel of Rupa Goswami Pad. And he gave Rupa Goswami Pad the power to be able to, unlike Shukadev Goswami mentioned, if I'm speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, and I begin to speak the glories of Srimati Radhika, and speaking those glories of Srimati Radhika, I become absorbed. Then Radha Nama Prachanena Murchita Sanmasiko Bhavet. There's a possibility that being overwhelmed by the ecstasy of those mention of Radhika's name only, I could faint for 6 months, and Maharaj Parikshit only has 7 days to hear this katha. But to Rupa Goswami Pad, Mahaprabhu also gave him another kind of power. What is that power? Darya Dharan Shakti. So Darya means patience. Dharan means to hold. So he gave Rupa Goswami the power that you'll be able to describe all of these things about the height of praying. You'll be able to describe what is pure bhakti. And in describing that, you will not become so overwhelmed by the ecstatic feelings of it that you will lose your consciousness and not be able to complete it. So in this way, Rupa Goswami could write Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujalaniyamani, right? Then Hangshadu, then Utkarika Bhalari, Stavavali. So many granthas Rupa Goswami Pad wrote, explaining all about pure bhakti. But he begins by giving explanation of what is pure bhakti, and our Guru Varga have accepted this as the summation. We don't say that the teaching of Bhagavatam, Savai Pum Sam. No. Only reason there's any kind of analysis of it is because compared to what now Mahaprabhu was instilled in the heart of Rupa Goswami, right? We're looking from that angle. Also, Narada Muni's verse in Narada Pancharacha. We cannot say this verse is not complete. But looking objectively from what Mahaprabhu was given to Rupa Goswami, this description of pure bhakti is the best. Anya abhilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavratam anukulyena Krishna anusilanam bhaktir uttama. So here, there are two divisions of this verse. Gurudev has described, our acharyas have described, that one is called Tatashta Lakshan. It is the extrinsic, or the what bhakti is not, essentially. And the other part is the Swarup Lakshan, or the actual definition of pure bhakti in its essential nature. So first he says, Anya Abhilas Sunya. I'll get to Sita, the suffix, in a minute. Anya Abhilas Sunya. To perform bhakti, just like in the other verses, one should have no other desire. So here, one thing that stands out immediately is Anya Abhilas. So it doesn't say one should have no desire. It doesn't say that. Anya means other. So here the indication is that one should not have any other desire, but we should have one desire. What desire is that? Ikantik Abhilas, to obtain Bhagavat Prem. Yes, we should have desire. What desire? Ikantik Abhilas, one-pointed desire to obtain Bhagavat Prem. And we should be sunya, void of any other desire. Now, to become void of any other desire is not possible unless one desire has become so fulfilling it does not leave room for any other desire. So this is also one of the mysteries in this Anya Abhilas. Anya Abhilas means one desire has become so prominent that there is no room to accommodate other desires. So it doesn't mean, because sometimes devotees will become confused and say, oh, before I can get pure bhakti, I'll have to get rid of all of my other desires. I'll have to take them out. I'll have to get rid of them. This leads to ideas of playing God. I'll work on myself. I will become pure. Then I can practice high class of bhakti. But even in this verse describing pure bhakti, it's mentioning anya abhilas, right? Making your focus of attention the one desire to serve Bhagavan will axiomatically, or as a byproduct, remove all other desires. Same thing was expressed in Bhagavad Gita. Raso vrajam raso piyasya param jashanavatate. In this verse of Bhagavad Gita, same thing is expressed. Only by having ekantik abhilas, one-pointed desire to serve Krishna, automatically, gradually, that's why Rupa Goswami wrote in Upadeshamrita, very basic teaching of Rupa Goswami. Utsahan nischayat dharyat. Stay enthusiastic in your one-pointed desire. Nischayat, have firm determination to accomplish it. And dharyat, be patient. In a world of everything being instant, from food to everything else, we want everything to be immediate. I joined Bhakti last week, so when do I become a pure devotee? Is it a 2-week course, 3-week course? No, dharyat. You've been in the material world from time without beginning. You have no idea how long that even is. So the term time immemorial really means I have no conception of what time without any beginning is. It doesn't mean a time beyond my memory. It means, literally, I don't understand even a conception of time without beginning. So be patient to understand, having been in the material world for you cannot count the time. Be patient that now I've come to the process of bhakti. Oh, be patient, take your time, be absorbed, but keep a sense of urgency. Yes, this is important. There's nothing more important than this. Because it's simultaneously, I don't know how long I have left in this world. I cannot guarantee 1 more hour, 2 more hours, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years. I cannot say. So some sense of urgency is there. But dharyat, also patience. Patience is also a symptom of faith. That if I'm trying, my heart is Bhagavan and sadhus, guru, they will help me to continue to advance. This is the wonder of bhakti. That's why Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita, Shushukam kartum avyayam. It's very beautiful and happy to perform this process of bhakti. Shushukam kartum avyayam. Doing bhakti is a very happy process. So be patient. Right? So, anya abhilas. No other desire except one. But here it doesn't say anya abhilas, it says anya abhilasita. So ita is the actual suffix. Sita, when you in Sanskrit, how it works. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. But sita means, ita means a condition. Just like patita. Patita means a condition of being fallen. Gunatita. Gunatit means who has transcended the modes of nature. So being in a condition where we're beyond the modes of nature. So ita is a state of being. So here it says, anya abhilasita, sunya. Be devoid of any other desire except the one desire to serve Bhagavan, but don't think that certain natural conditions of the jiva will be an impediment to being anya abhilas sunya. In other words, the example is given in Sastra of Draupadi. When Dushashan attempted to disrobe Draupadi during the gambling match, at that time, Draupadi being a chaste lady, her honor was at stake. And it was not just a matter of material honor, but in Vedic culture, as Krishna described in Bhagavad Gita, this honor is worse than death. So Draupadi at that time, everyone knows this story, as Dushashan tried to disrobe her, she tried to hold on at first, but it was impossible to do. She could receive no help from her husbands. She could receive no help even from elders who were there, like Bhishma Dev, whom she later brought this subject up to him. Right? Well, you're speaking very learned now. When Bhishma Dev was leaving and he was giving Rajniti and also instructions about bhakti at the time when he was laying on a bed of arrows, why wasn't he speaking so much philosophy then? Right? So not being offensive, but she was wondering why. So then Bhishma Dev explained, because he accepted the association of someone like Duryodhan and was being maintained essentially by someone like that, then his natural consciousness could not come out. So, here, ita means a condition like the condition of Draupadi, where she's under duress and the natural desire is to protect yourself. Just like if your life is at stake and you call out, Krishna, save me. this is not considered anya abhilas. It is not considered another desire. It is a natural condition of the jiva because every jiva has by its very nature eternality. And as long as we are still somehow bewildered by the material energy, we have a fear of death, natural fear of death. Bhayam dutya abhinivesha shat. When we come under the abhinivesha of ignorance, naturally bhaya. Dutya means when there's a duality present. The duality that I am spirit, but I also have some relation to the material world. As long as that's there, dvitya will be there. That duality, and when that duality is there, bhaya, fear will be there. So calling out under the natural condition of fear, right? Not fear that I'm not making enough money. Not fear that I want a new husband or wife. Not fear that I want a new car. Not fear of any other kind of material thing like that. Fear that I won't get it. This is not a condition which comes under this category. But anya abhilasita means under a condition in which naturally the jiva would seek to protect itself, and it calls out to Bhagavan, considering Bhagavan its only protector, right? That is not inconsistent with being anya abhilas sunya. So, anya abhilasita sunyam, that is what it means. Also, jnana, karma, adi anavritam. So here the word gyan is used. Looking at the time, I don't think we're going to get pretty much beyond these explanations of pure bhakti before we need to speak Giriraj Katha, because I think we'll run late if we try to go as far as I thought I would make it tonight in terms of this. But anyway, we'll deal with this, and I think this is sufficient. So gyan here means three types of gyan. Tatparata gyan means who is Bhagavan. Tamparata gyan, who am I? Jiva Aikya Brahma Gyan. Am I one with Bhagavan, or am I one with Brahma? So these are the three types of gyan that naturally exist in the conception of the jiva when he's trying to advance along the path of liberation. Knowledge about who am I, what is Bhagavan, and whether or not I am one with that Bhagavan. Right? Because we talked about earlier the plague of the attack of Mayavad and Brahmavad, or impersonalist philosophies, when we're in that delicate stage of coming from breaking our contact with material energy and trying to move along the spiritual path. So here Rupa Goswami acknowledges that and says two of these types of gyan are actually byproducts of bhakti. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnanayatsu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayoira Hoitukam. That knowledge, which is Tatparata and Tamparata, who am I and who is Bhagavan, that is a natural byproduct of bhakti. The one which is not acceptable and which is not a natural byproduct of bhakti, but it means that there is some interference in the practice of bhakti, is when the desire for understanding how I am one with Bhagavan, Jiva Aikya Brahma Gyan, if that arises. That kind of gyan, as well as karma, which is not within the domain of service to Bhagavan, avrita means it covers bhakti. And therefore the pure nature of bhakti does not reveal itself. So, jnana karmani anavritam. We want to practice that kind of gyan and karma, because you cannot do bhakti also without doing some kind of activity. This is also karma. You have to eat, you have to work if you're a grihasta, if you're a sannyasi, you have also certain duties to do. Everyone has to do functional things, even in the service of doing bhakti, picking flowers, cooking, so many things. So activities have to be done. This is also karma. But this kind of bhakti seva as karma doesn't cover bhakti. It reveals bhakti rather. Right? Kriti sajya, bhavet bhavasa saranamida. Using the senses in the performance of bhakti uncovers bhakti. Nitya siddha bhav. Prakrita mriti sajyata. It uncovers the nitya siddha bhav. Therefore, doing activities related to bhakti do not cover it. It rather reveals it. So here, Rupa Goswami said, Brahma, Jiva, Aikya, Gyan, and karma which has a self-interest, not the service of Bhagavan as its primary force, those two things, they avritam, they cover bhakti. So they are not bhakti. So, Anya Bilas, any other desire except serving Bhagavan that doesn't arise from a natural condition of the jiva, any knowledge which does not promote understanding of ourselves in relation to Bhagavan, but rather seeks to make us one with Bhagavan, and any kind of karma which has self-interest, it covers bhakti, and these are unwanted. So this is the Tatashta Lakshan of this verse. It is the extrinsic definition of the verse, meaning this is not bhakti. If you have these things, any other desire, or you're engaged in gyan towards seeking Brahmavad, Mayavad, or if you're engaged in karma with self-interest, it will cover bhakti and not reveal it. But anukulyena Krishna anusilanam bhaktiruttama. But uttam bhakti, uttam means beyond tama. Uttama. Tama means like the modes of material nature. And here it doesn't mean just goodness. Doesn't mean just ignorance, but goodness, passion, and ignorance. So uttama means beyond the ignorance, which is the material platform. So it doesn't mean only tamagun. So bhakti, which is uttam, which is transcendental, is comprised of anukulyena Krishna anusilanam. Somebody's got to mute your phone. If somebody just came on the phone conference, just push *6. So anukulyena here means, anukul means to render favorable service to Krishna. It does not mean strictly meant for Krishna's happiness. I'm about to get into this explanation right now. This is a very deep verse. It does not only mean for Krishna's happiness, because in the absolute sense, what makes Krishna happy is prem. It's described in the 4th chapter of Adi Lila, where it says that the only source of Krishna's happiness is the tasting of Ladini Shakti, which is manifest from Srimati Radhika. It doesn't mean only from Radhika's Roop, but it means all things connected with Ladini Shakti. And Radhika is the deity of Ladini Shakti. Right? So that's what Krishna tastes as happiness. So I'm giving the examples. Anukulyena means a idea of serving Bhagavan, which is anukul, means favorable. So the examples are given that there's two kinds of faults. One is called ati vyapti dosh, which word ati means excessive or an extended or elongated or excessive is the best word. So ati vyapti dosh means to extend the meaning of bhakti to circumstances where pure bhakti is not present because it is not anukul. It is not favorable to Krishna. The example given by Rupa Goswami Pad is when Krishna entered Mathura after killing Kuvalyapita and he was about to wrestle with Charuna and Mushtika. We have not read anywhere that Charuna and Mushtika, that they were Nitya associates of Bhagavan, that they were pure devotees of Bhagavan. We've read only some history how they came to Kanks Maharaj. And having come into the service of Kanks Maharaj, they were engaged there to kill Krishna. So the desire to kill Krishna is not anukul. Krishna can arrange his own lila like that, like in the case of Jai and Vijay. He told that when Jai and Vijay would come to this world for 3 births as demons, so to speak, their actual activities were bhakti. Samrama Sambritya Samadhi Anubhadi Yog. Their activities were actually the samadhi of bhakti yog in anger. You have to read the commentary very nicely and read the verses very nicely of Srimad Bhagavatam describing the descent of Jai and Vijay. Because they are nitya parikars. They are by nature always anukul to Bhagavan. So because Bhagavan wanted to taste Veer Ras, the act of fighting with his devotees, this is a different thing. But with Charuna and Mustika, this was not the case. But Bhagavatam explains that while Krishna was fighting with Charuna and Mustika, Krishna was feeling great happiness. How, if Charuna and Mustika are not devotees, how is Krishna feeling great happiness? Because Krishna is Atmaram. Krishna is by his very nature. His Swarup is called Swarup Paramananda. In his very nature, he's always Paramananda. Krishna is always happy. He's always Atmaram. He's self-fulfilled. So he does not depend on his happiness from someone else. What comes from his devotees is called Pararamata. It is an extreme extension of his own Atmaramata in relation to another person who is of the nature to make Krishna happy. That means they're imbued with Anukul, Swarup Shakti, or praying. Therefore, they can make Krishna happy, like Jai and Vijay. Like the Sakas when they have wrestling. When they go out and they're wrestling and competing with each other. Krishna becomes happy in Pararamata, in association with his pure devotees. But not the case with Charan and Mustika. So if we take Charan and Mustika because we see that Krishna is happy and smiling and so forth, we take that, oh, that must be bhakti. This is called Ati Vyapti Dosh, the fault of overextension of the meaning. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, she once sent all of her sevaks home on Diwali in order to herself prepare everything for Krishna. Because, of course, Krishna had been stealing in the house of so many different gopis, and every day those gopis would come, and they would spend hours recounting the expertise of Krishna's Chor Lila, Makkan Chor Lila, how he stole butter in each house. In this way, Ma Yashoda, Ma Rohini, and all the elderly Brijavasi ladies would taste so much nectar in reciting these Leelas of Krishna, how he stole. So, Vraje Prasidam Navanita Chodam. Whole song is written about Chora Graganyam, the king of all thieves. That's Krishna. So they're very happy. So they're discussing. So Mother Yashoda thought, once he's stealing in everyone else's house, I don't believe, perhaps I'm not doing my best to make Krishna happy. Therefore, I will give Diwali as a break to all of our home sevaks, and I will do everything myself by hand, taking milk from Krishna's favorite cow, and putting that milk and beginning to churn and churn to make butter, to make yogurt, to make sweets, to make so many different things. She had a plan. So she put that milk on to first start to boil. At that time, Krishna woke up. Sometimes Krishna sleeps in the inner chamber on the bedstead of Ma Yashoda. Ma Yashoda's bedstead has been described in many places, very beautiful, very high. It is not low to the ground, it's very high. And it has all silk coverings on it. And it has pearl tassels that come down. So Mother Yashoda, when she got up early in the morning, I'm not describing the whole Leela because we'll be here all night, but it describes step by step how she first looked at the beautiful face of Krishna. Looking at the beautiful face of Krishna, the son became bewildered. Well, should I rise and disturb her meditation, or should I wait? Or because time has no influence in the spiritual world, time is only an udipan for Leela. That's why you can have Ras Leela for one night of Brahma. Because time there is a servant. Time is not forcing its own imposition. It's only a servant to Leela. So long story short, Mother Yashoda, looking at the beautiful face of her son for hours and hours, she became inspired and she went to began preparing things with her own hands. When Krishna woke up, Krishna thought, where's my mother? And as any natural young boy would do, young baby would do, began crying. But Mother Yashoda, because she was at that time churning and preparing things, she could not hear Krishna crying. So Krishna was crying louder and louder. Then Krishna thought he was going to get down to go and find Mother Yashoda, but then he looked at the bed and thought, oh my gosh, this is like Mount Sumeru. For Krishna, it looked like Mount Sumeru. It was so tall, the bed. And he said, how will I get down? So Krishna, long story short, he started contemplating different ways. Then he thought, listen, I will take one of the pearl strands, and taking the smoothness of the silk which is there, Krishna ran from one side and slid, caught on to the pearl, slid down. But when he tried to land, there was a misstep. So he landed on his bottom. That made Krishna cry even more. So now he runs out and he finds Mother Yashoda out preparing so many things for him. And Mother Yashoda, seeing her Lala come and crying so profusely, she immediately picked him up and she gave her breast milk. This is a very special feature of Vatsalya praying, the ability to give breast milk. It is a natural sattvic bhav, means an automatic transformation of the body that takes place in Vatsalya praying. So Mother Yashoda began feeding Krishna very nicely. As she was feeding Krishna and looking at the beauty of Krishna's face and how happy Krishna had become, right? She became lost. But suddenly, the milk that was on the stove began to boil over. Our acharyas describe everything in Braj is conscious. So the milk began to think, if Krishna is taking the breast milk of Mother Yashoda, Krishna's stomach is unlimited. Mother's breast milk supply, because of her prayam, is also unlimited. What chance will I ever have to serve Krishna? This combination of Krishna taking breast milk from Mother Yashoda can go on from now till eternity. I'll never have any chance. If I have no chance to serve Bhagavan, what is the point of living? So the milk was thinking, I'll overflow the pot and simply jump into the fire. Our acharyas have described this. So Mother Yashoda, she immediately, looking at the situation, she picked Krishna and put him down on the ground and ran to attend to the milk. So then our acharyas commented, when Krishna's desire is very strong, he can do anything. When he was taking breast milk from Putana when she tried to kill him, right? Even though he was only 3 days old, at that time, when Putana tried to push Krishna away because she could feel her life air being sucked out, right? Then it's described that Putana had the strength of 10,000 elephants, but still she could not move Krishna. But Mother Yashoda, in her heartbeat, one swooping motion, grabbed Krishna, set him on the ground, and went to attend to the milk that was boiling on the stove. Krishna began to cry very loudly, because once having come into the condition of being pacified by Mother Yashoda, now it almost seems like abandonment. Oh, he's crying even more than he was when he first started. So now we could say, well, what kind of bhakti is this? If Krishna's happiness is the meaning of the word anukulyena, right? If it's Krishna's happiness, Mother Yashoda even is not making Krishna happy. Is this bhakti or not? So Rupa Goswami Pad said, if you describe or you think this is not bhakti, right? It means you really don't understand, and you will be subject to the fault of vyapti dosh. Vyapti dosh means the underextension of the meaning of bhakti. Because the meaning of anukulyena means what will make Krishna happy in terms of Krishna's ultimate welfare. His kalyan means his ultimate welfare. So as a mother, Mother Yashoda's prem is demonstrated more. Remember, Krishna tastes prem. Her prem is demonstrated more in the motherly decisions to look out for Krishna's ultimate welfare by thinking this milk will produce yogurt, ghee for cooking, butter, which Krishna loves so much, all kinds of sweets, and so many other things. This is actually motherly praying, right? No mother will say, oh, my child is crying because they want to eat candy nonstop 24 hours a day, so out of love, I will give candy 24 hours a day. No. Mother will say, no. You first eat food, then you can have candy. You can have any sweet after eating food. No, you must go to school. No, you must do this. You must do that. This is motherly love. So, the underextension of the meaning is demonstrated in this lila with Mother Yashoda. It is called avyapti dosh, and it is the underextension of the meaning of prem. So, anukulyena, Krishna anusilanam. So, the word anu has been mentioned already, already twice. Anukulyena, Krishna anusilanam. So, Krishna here means Krishna. So, anukulyena, what is for Krishna's welfare, imbued with prem, and is anusilanam. Anusilanam means it is an unbroken mood of service and an unbroken activity of service, because seal is the dhatu that means endeavors. It's a verb actually in Sanskrit, and it means endeavors. So those endeavors which are unbroken, Gurudev is described like a stream of honey. When you pour honey, it comes out in a continual flow. If you want to stop it, you have to actually take a spoon or something, stop it, and then hold it back. So when bhakti, both in activity and in feeling, because seal here will mean chestarup and bhavrup. I'm not going into details here. Chestarup means activities and bhavrup means feelings. Both should be there. When they flow in a continuum without cessation, this is called Krishna anusilanam. The word anu here also means and in anugatya. Anugatya means in and under the direction of any sadhu guru, and once we become realized, we've obtained bhav under the instruction of any nitya parikar of Bhagavan, ragatmik jan. Those who have rag in their heart, following them, this is also called rag anuga, the same word is there again, anugatya. So continually in anugatya, and continue without any break, just like the verse of Bhagavatam, Ahitakya Prityata, this is called Uttam Bhakti or Transcendental Bhakti or highest class of Bhakti. So I think we'll have to suffice here in order to keep some framework of time and still leave questions at the end and do Giriraj Mahima. Bhumi, I think on the phone we'll go over the tittis of Rasikanand and others so that we'll end the live stream, the Facebook live stream on time. So if you have any questions, on up to this point of the description of bhakti, where we are, hold on one second, Bhumi. Where we are in our progression now is we've talked about the Atma itself, the nature of the Atma, how the Atma became bound. Then we talked about the freedom of bondage of the Atma by Sadhu Sangha and the means and the mechanism and propellant of that freedom being Shraddha, faith. Now we've come to what is the goal of that faith? When you make your turn away from material energy, what are you heading towards? Pure bhakti. What is pure bhakti? That is what we discussed tonight. And then next week, hopefully we'll pick up how that pure bhakti is practiced. And we'll be able to revisit some more discussion about pure bhakti. So I'm going to ask that you write down any questions that you have regarding that. And you can either type them to me, you can inbox me with those questions as you like. And we can see, like, I like to do it sometimes live because I have the benefit of having devotees like Bhumipati Bhumu Mahabhuti. Sometimes different sannyasis are on also, and other elder and senior matajis and devotees. So I really like taking advantage of that because then I can be assured that I won't make any mistakes or anything, and we have so many other people to be able to answer questions. But I'm afraid for time that if we don't start speaking Giriraj Katha now, then it will become sort of excessively late. Yes.
I think, Prabhu, I had mentioned to you earlier, a lot of it, you might have to do this class for the phone over again, because it's really, you're going like in and out, like it's like you're taking on water.
All right, hold on one second, woman. Let me see if I can make an adjustment. I really apologize for that. Let me see if I can make an adjustment here. Hold on one second.
I could barely hear in between stuff as well.
Okay, hold on one second.
I texted you, but I don't know if you got it.
Yeah, I just saw that text now. Hold on. I'm begging devotees on the live stream to also bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to have to make a little bit of a... Okay, I have the Wi-Fi off, so I don't know why it would be happening because normally...
It might be, you know, if you're back in the room, if you're not near, like, usually, do you have your phone hooked up to your wireless as well?
No, I cut it off because actually that was the problem before, that when I'm using the phone with the Wi-Fi, we were getting all that interference. So this could just be a matter of just being not clear. How is it now?
It's still breaking up. It's still garbled, like you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's because I've got the iPads running also. I'm not quite sure what it is. Let me do this. Let me call back into the phone conference right quick and see where we're at, and then I'll start Giriraj Katha. I'm going to call right back in, Bhumi, just now.
Okay.
Devotees that were on the Facebook live stream, just bear with me a minute because we do two things simultaneously.
Welcome.
One is the phone conference. So I'm trying to get this worked out.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. The recording has started. Please
All right.
announce yourself.
Yes, Haribol Bhumi, is this any better?
Not really.
All right, let's try one more thing. Hey, Bhumi, just read off the phone conference number to me. I'm going to try to put it on my home phone. That might be easier. 605.
Huh?
What's the phone conference number? 605?
605 472 5672.
All right, let's see how it works out on my home phone. Maybe that might be the option here.
Code is 576151 pound.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. The recording has started. Please announce yourself.
How about now, Bhumi?
Much better.
All right, sorry about that. All right, I'm sorry. This is the technology thing is always a thing, but anyway, we'll pray to Gu and Gorunga that somehow these things can get worked out. All right, so I'm on my home phone, so hopefully this will be better. And yeah, down the line we'll do this class again on the phone conference singly. So now today is a very auspicious day. Today is the Govardhan Puja. So we would be remiss very much if we did not speak some of the glories of Govardhan Puja. This morning, very fortunately, at Radha Govinda Mandir here, we had very nice program. Pujapad Bhagavat Maharaj is staying here right now, and he spoke some of the glories of Govardhan Puja. Also this morning, I also spoke some glories about Govardhan Puja. So we want to do that now. So, Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. So, Gurudev has spoken about the Tattva of Govardhan on many occasions and described how Govardhan is the heart. It is actually the heart for those who want to do bhakti. Even once I asked Srila Gurudev, because many devotees, we pray to Lord Narasimhadev for protection. So I asked Srila Gurudev about this one time, and one time he gave me the answer, yes, for the Sankirtan movement. We pray to Narasimhadev to protect the Sankirtan movement. But really, if you're a Brijabasi, or you have aspiration to be Brijabasi, you pray for all protection and everything to Sri Giriraj Govardhan. Because Sri Giriraj Govardhan is Sarva Abhishtakari, means he's the fulfiller of all desires of Brijabasis. This is the whole mood and meaning of this Govardhan Puja. The recognition of what is the position of Govardhan. In the Adivaraha Puran, the story of Giriraj is told there because prior to Giriraj's descent into Prakat Lila, right? Because Giriraj also, like all of Krishna's associates, everything, it maintains three forms. Actually, one form in Nitya Golok Dham, one form in the Prakat Lila of Krishna, means when Krishna manifests his earthly pastimes, and also Giriraj as Chatak Paravat is there also in Navadvip, in Puri, in Mahaprabhu's Lila. So Giriraj is manifest also in these three places. But in Nitya Golok Dham, in the eternal spiritual realm, Giriraj's name is not Giriraj, but he's called Giriraj also, but his name is Satasringha. And in the Adivaraha Puran, it describes a very wonderful story. There it describes that Srimati Radhika, once when she was having ras with Krishna, there she inquired from Krishna, many times you've spoken about your love for me. Vachik. Many times you've also shown by just your kayika means your body. You've also shown love for me. So here kayik means like Krishna's so expert. If Krishna will be walking and the gopis will be going to the market, Krishna will walk in such a way, he'll get to a certain point and he'll turn his body towards the sun. And when he turns his body towards the sun, it will cast his shadow in such a way that it touches the shadow of Srimati Radhika. And Radhika will begin to blush and to smile and have ecstatic symptoms arise. This is Krishna's expertise. So Radhika says, you're so expert, you're so rasik, that you can do all of these things to explain your love for me. But directly speaking, I have not heard you speak directly about your love for me. Yes?
Can I come in?
No, sweetie, afterwards.
Can I use the iPad?
I'm using it.
Can I use the big one?
I'm using both.
Oh my god!
It was granddaughter time. All right, so then it tells, Radhika tells to Krishna, listen, but you have not spoken from your own mouth how much you love me. On some occasions, when I'm in Man, you'll come and then you'll express so much. Oh, I love you. Oh, I don't love anybody but you. Right? But I want to see exactly how much you love me. Can you show me exactly how much you love me? So then Krishna picked up one stone in Nitya Golok Dham, and putting that stone near his heart, that stone began to reflect the energy that was in Krishna's heart. So you have two things here. You have Radhika's Icha, her desire to know what is Krishna's love for her. And you have Krishna showing her in Sanket, means in a hint, not speaking openly. Gurudev said it's not the highest class thing to speak openly, I love you, I love you, I love you. This doesn't carry as much taste as when someone by very expert ways, and even sometimes if you do speak by poetry, explain how you love someone. So Krishna put the stone near his heart. When he put the stone near his heart, it became infused with how Krishna loves Radhika. And that stone began to grow. Radhika, seeing that stone, was thinking, oh, how much I also love Krishna. So now both Radha and Krishna's energy are going into this stone, and the stone is growing and growing and growing. One of the elements of Parakiya Bhav means the kind of relationship that Radha and Krishna have, lover and beloved, is that it should be kept hidden. This is called Prachana Mukita. It should be kept hidden. It should not be available to be seen by others who are not part of the inner party, so to speak. So as this stone began to grow, and then grow more, and then grow more, it started to get so big that it started becoming visible not only to the immediate circle of Radhika, her Sakis, but it started to become visible to the larger section of Braj. So then Radhika said, oh, I believe you. But the stone didn't stop growing. Krishna said, yes, yes, my love is now proven. The stone did not stop growing. And it kept growing, and then it got to the size of a hill, then to the size of a small mountain. Then it started growing and growing. So Krishna did not know what to do, and Radhika did not know what to do. So Krishna finally, he jumped, he leaped into the air, and giving a very tough slap, then the mountain stopped growing. So what is the meaning here? The meaning is that Radha and Krishna, they are also subservient to their prem. So Radha and Krishna prem is the supreme goal or objective. Because Radha and Krishna's prem even controls Radha and Krishna themselves. Do you understand this point? Radha and Krishna are controlled by prem. So their love is the actual supreme attainment. So to prove this point, when Krishna and Radhika invested their love in a sample, which was this growing stone, which later became known as Sapta Sringha, it means that mountain with 100 peaks, declaring boldly, only in a hint, about the love of Radha and Krishna. It began to grow uncontrollably, because neither Radha or Krishna have control when prem takes over. So that Sapta Sringha became so dear to Radhika because it was the manifest, substantive spirituality of what is Krishna's love in a giant hint that sits right at Govardhan. And so many people are passing every day, and only to Radhika and Krishna they have the inner secret. Here is Krishna's love manifest for me every day. So when Krishna then said, listen, once in a day of Brahma, once in every day of Brahma, Krishna manifests his pastimes here in Prakat Braj, that Vrindavan within this material realm, right? At that time, he sends his Dham, he sends all of his associates. So when he told to Srimati Radhika, I'm going to descend, and I want you also to descend to perform sporting pastimes with me in my Prakat Braj. Radhika says, no, unless Jamuna, unless Giriraj Govardhan, unless the Dolasvan means the 12 forests of Vrindavan, and all the different features of our Vrindavan also descend, I cannot go. Because I cannot be separated from Vrindavan. When Radhika met Krishna at Kurukshetra, she told a very important thing. It's written in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hridoya Moraman, Moramana Vrindavan, Moni Vani Eko Korijani. Oh Krishna, you should know that my mind and my heart are not two separate things. She was saying because in normal dealings with people, they may have one thing in the mind, one thing in the heart. But I said, no, my mind is not duplicitous like this. My mind and the heart never separate because my heart and mind are only love for you. And this Vrindavan is the manifestation of that love for you. This Dham is manifest also by the desire of Radhika. All the beauty of Vrindavan is manifest by the influence of Brinda Devi and Purnamasi. They are also Shakti. So they're embodiments of Radhika's own mood of how to serve Krishna through all the facility of Vrindavan. Baladev manifests the substance of the Dham because he receives power from Radhika to do so. So Radhika said, Ridoy Morman, Moramana Vrindavan, Mani Vani Eka Kari Jani. This Van and my heart, they're one thing. I can never leave Vrindavan. So Krishna, don't worry. Shri Giriraj, all of us have already gone. So then Radhika could agree to come and manifest their Leelas here in this Prakat Braj. So this is the original story of Govardhan. Now, here in Prakat Dham, in the Prakat Dham, and in fact throughout the world here, all of the different mountains were very much prestiged. I don't know if that's the word, prestiged. They were very much glorified in ancient times because mountains were considered places of the gods. Even if you go to Egypt today, I took a trip many years ago to Israel and Egypt. And in Egypt, I went to many of the pyramids. So when you go inside the pyramids, like the pyramids at Giza, the entranceway is such that you are forced to bow down. When you walk through the entranceway and you come up into the main hall, then you're able to stand up. And when you stand up, they have what is called metanetya or hieroglyphics that run along all the walls of the pyramid. And all of them are telling different kinds of pastimes. We had a guide with us and he was telling us all these things. They tell all different stories about the Egyptian cosmology and spirituality. And at the very top of the pyramid is just a black stone. Now this is getting off subject a little bit, but we asked about that stone. He said it is called ammonite. Now, if you know the geological composition of the Shalagram Shila, it is ammonite. So that's one factor. But my point here is that historically speaking, I began doing research, and the original name of the pyramids, the Greeks named them pyramids because pyrames. It means they used to observe fire sacrifices being performed in the middle of the pyramids, right? Therefore, they called them pyrames, means pyramids, right? But the ancient name for them were called Meru. So Meru means like our Sumeru mountain or Mount Meru because it's considered the abode of the gods. All the big mountains like Vindhyachal, all the other big mountains, they were worshipable back in the day. All of the rishis and ascetics, many of them used to live in the mountains, right? So mountains were a very wonderful thing, right? When Ramachandra was banished, he stayed at Chitrakoot on top of one small mountain, Chitrakoot, very beautiful place. So mountains were always worshipped. Back at that time, the mountains were also movable. They all had wings. So the mountains would go from one location to another and they would land. And when they would land, unfortunately, because they didn't have so much control, it would cause like almost like a mini earthquake. So at some point, all the rishis and sadhus, they said, wait, we cannot have this continual disruption. Every time a mountain takes off, the earth becomes a little imbalanced. When it lands, again. So they appealed to Indradev. Listen, part of your job is to make sure that the arrangements that Brahma has engineered, that they kind of stay in balance. You're the king. You're the chief Adhikrita servant. Adhikrita means who's empowered by Bhagavan to do administrative services in the universe. So you're the king among them. So Indra, he told the mountains to stop doing this, but it is in the nature of the mountains to do what they do. So then Indra took his Brajra, means his thunderbolt, and he actually cut the wings off all the mountains. From that time on, each mountain landed in a certain place and became Stavra. Stavra means immovable. So the mountains, they used to always pray and they used to always worship. One day, that person whom we worship, who do all the mountains worship? They worship Satasringha. Just like we worship Goloka Vrindavan, all the mountains, they worship Satasringha. Right? They also call him Giriraj. Giri means mountain, Raj means king. So he's the king of all the mountains. So they also were anxiously praying when that Giriraj will descend. So in the Garga Samhita, it tells the story that once Giriraj descended and he became the son of, because in each different kalpa it may be told differently from time to time. But it mentions that Giriraj came and became the son of Vindhyachal. So Vindhyachal was very, very happy. One day, Pulatsa Rishi came. Pulatsa Rishi is among the 7 rishis, 7 maharshis who were there in the beginning of the creation. Pulatsa Rishi was doing his austerities and practice in Kasi or Banaras. There's not so many high class of mountains at that time. So when he went to Vindhyachal, he approached him, and anytime any sadhu visits, it is obligatory that when that sadhu leaves, that you should offer some dakshin according to your capacity. So just like Vishwamitra came to Dasarat and when he was leaving said, oh, I want to take Ram. And Dasharat was heartbroken. Similarly, one sannyasi came to Hadai Pandit, the father of Nityananda. And when he was leaving, I want to take Nityananda. Hadai Pandit also died, like Dasharat Maharaj, in great separation. Similarly, when Pulachya Rishi came to Vindhyachal, he told, oh, in my place, Kasi, I don't have beautiful mountains like this. I want to take your son and Giriraj and take him with me. So that time, Vindhyachal was so heartbroken, but he could not refuse Pulachya Rishi. But Giriraj made a caveat. Listen, oh Rishi, I will go with you. But any place that you put me down, I will not move again. Because you can pick me up and you can fly with me, right? The Rishis, you have great power like this. But all of the mountains have been, by the arrangement of Indra, unable to do this. So now, in solidarity with all of my brothers, I'm saying, if any place you put me down, I will not move from there. But Giriraj had another plan. Because Giriraj heart is taratmik with Vrindavan, he knew to get to Kasi from Vindhyachal, right? You'll have to pass over Braj. So at that time, by the influence of Yoga Maya, I will make arrangements. So when Pulachya Rishi took Giriraj on his hand, and they were flying as they passed over Mathura Mandal coming into Braj, at that time an overwhelming desire to answer the call of nature came into Pulachya Rishi. So Pulachya Rishi was thinking, my goodness, I'm a yogi, high class of yogi, I can control my eating, I can control even my breath, but suddenly I'm overwhelmed by a desire to go to the restroom and I can't control it. So he didn't think, he landed, he put down, because you cannot, if you want to use something for worship, that thing has to remain pure. His plan was to use Giriraj to do his bhajan, practice his yoga, everything on Giriraj. So he didn't want to any contamination, so he put Giriraj down there in Braj Mandal. And he went and he took bath, he answered the call of nature, did all the proper austerities, not austerities, but all proper cleansing methods, everything. Then he told again by mantra, into my hand, and let's continue. Giriraj said, no, no, no. You, to be a rishi, must be Satyabrat. Satyabrat means you can never tell a lie. You told me in Vindhyachal that wherever you put me down, you agreed that that place I could stay and you wouldn't take me any further. So Pulachya Rishi, realizing that he had been duped, for lack of a better word, became angry and he cursed to Giriraj. Listen, for this unfulfillment of my desire, I curse you that you will shrink the size of one mustard seed every year. So, Giriraj was a huge mountain. You can't imagine what size was Giriraj at that time. So, but this curse, when you think about it, Pulachya Rishi, what power does he have to curse Haridasavarya? We'll get into what is Haridasavarya in a minute. What power does he have to curse Giriraj? None. So actually, Pulachya Rishi's so-called curse was actually a boon to Giriraj. Why? Because when the Prakat Leela of Krishna would end, the nature of separation of all Brijabasis, and even when Krishna goes to Mathura, the separation of all Brijabasis is intolerable, including Giriraj. So Giriraj, to manifest this separation, now he could cover that sentiment by shrinking. So it would be natural that if everybody sees how Giriraj is slumped over, how he's shrinking, they can attribute it to the curse of Pulachya Rishi and not understand this is the deep mood of separation of Giriraj. So, another story is told that once, during Treta Yuga, when Ramachandra was building a bridge to Lanka, he sent out all of the Vanaras and all of his servants who were helping him to find Sita in order to build a bridge across the ocean. If you read Ramayana, it explains that Ram sat crying for 3 days on the bank of the ocean because he was so absorbed in separation from Sita, he could figure no way to cross this ocean. This is Bhagavan's Naravat Leela, right? So then the idea was made, we will make a bridge to go across. So everybody according to their capacities, little spiders were taking little pieces of sand and throwing. Ram, Ram. Or they would write Ram Nam on their little sand or rock and throw it and it would float, right? Then all of the larger animals, not animals, but larger servants of Bhagavan, they would fly like the bears and the monkeys, right? They all have different names like Vanaras, right? Kim Purushas. These are the different names of these different servants of Sri Ram. So they flew to different places and some brought boulders, some brought huge stones. Those who were so qualified like Hanuman and others, they brought actual mountains and they threw them in the water. simply saying Ram, Ram, and writing Ram Nam, throwing them in the water, and they would float. Not only would they float, but they would float in such a way that they would go to the exact height needed to make a level bridge. So it wasn't like you had to walk on one stone, then walk up a mountain. But the mountain would shrink down to become even with the other boulders. So you had a straight bridge across the Lanka. When Hanuman was just about to pick up Giriraj and he was about to fly, at that time, message came. Oh, the bridge is completed. We don't need any other boulders or stones or mountains. So Hanuman immediately put Giriraj down, but then as he was about to fly away, Giriraj, So Hanuman turning, he saw the disappointment in Giriraj. Why are you so disappointed? I thought I would have a chance to touch the lotus feet of Sri Ramchandra Bhagavan. But now that the bridge is complete, I will not get this savor. So then, when Hanuman reached back to the seashore and he told to Ram what had happened, Ram told, he should not have any worry. Because in my next Leela, not only will I walk barefoot, but along with my most dear cows and with my gopis, I will actually do Ras dance on that Giriraj. And to glorify the status of that Giriraj, I will lift that Giriraj on my very hand and exalt him above all others. So, in this way, there are many different stories told about how Giriraj came to Braj, how he originally manifested from Nityagolok Dham here, etc. So, there's another important tattva to Giriraj. The gopis have told, because when Govardhan Puja was going on, Krishna manifested his own form in Govardhan. People say that Govardhan is not different from Krishna. Therefore, he's Krishna. He's Bhagavan. But on this day, we all took grains today. If you had the feast today, the grains were there. On Vishnu Tattva days, we fast. So if Giriraj is actually Shri Krishna Bhagavan and this is Govardhan Puja, right, should we not fast from grains? But no, we don't. Because we follow Gopis' opinion. Gopis have said, Hantaya Madir Abhala Haridasavarya in the Venu Gita. This is the 21st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. They said this prayer. Hantaya Madir Abhala Haridasavaryo Yad Ramakrishna Charana Spasha Pramodaha Manam Tanoti Saha Go Ganayos Tayor Yat Panya Suyavas Kandra Kandamulahi. They said, oh, my dear Giriraj, you are the best of all servants of Srihari. You're always providing a place for Krishna to go Gocharan. The gopis here in Venu Gita, they're speaking, but this is still Purvarag. I cannot describe again all details, what is Purvarag, everything here, because our time will go very far. But at this time, when they speak in what is called avahita bhav. That means they're covering their own feelings by using the fortune of others to express things in relation to Krishna. They're saying the cows are so fortunate, like Giriraj, because Giriraj is the best of all of the sevaks, because you take all of your cows there, and they're able to walk on the soft grasses, and they provide so much happiness for you. All fruits, flowers, vegetables, and wonderful caves. So they bring up caves because so many pastime takes place in these caves. So in this way, Giriraj is also Haridasa Varya. So there are many different Haridasas like Yudhisthira Maharaj, Uddhavji. But of all, Giriraj is considered Haridasa Varya. Varya means the best of all of the servants of Sri Krishna. So because the gopis have this perspective on Giriraj, we also see Giriraj as Haridasa Varya. We don't serve as Sri Krishna. We understand that Krishna appears there, and I'm going to explain that. But also it's mentioned in Puranas. Prakriti Manasa Jatu Giriraj Govardhanaha. Where has Giriraj originally manifest from? As I told the story in Adivara Puran. He's manifest from a combination of Radhika's Icha coming from her heart. Prakriti Manasa Jatu Giriraj Govardhanaha. So in this way, Giriraj is manifested from the heart of Radhika. So he's like Kayavyuha of Radhika. Therefore, sometimes he's also called Girirani. Right? Because when Radha and Krishna perform their pastimes there, Giriraj, he can take a neutral position or even the position of identifying as female. Right? So he's called Girirani. You understand? In this way, Gopis have identified him Haridas Savarya. Right? So, because we are followers, Guru Dev said, of gopis, we also see Krishna like this. We also see Giriraj like this. So, what about the name Giriraj itself? So, it's mentioned, Govardhano Jaya Salakuru Raja, Yo Gopika Bhir Udito Haridas Savarya. Again, this prayer is there. Saying that Giriraj, how is he Giriraj? Because among all the different mountains, he is the king. All the other mountains have accepted that. Actually, when Giriraj descended, all the mountains had individual festivals in their locales. Oh, our Giriraj has now descended here to Vindhyachal. So big festivals were held by all the mountains, right? That Giriraj had appeared. So, once after Diwali, Maharaj Nanda, all of the elder Brijavasi men, all of the elder Brijavasi ladies, they were very busy in making preparations. At that time, Krishna, Dalbaya Baladev, all the other cowherd boys, they were walking around in the village and walking around in Krishna's courtyard, and they were wondering what is going on. So Krishna went to Mother Yashoda and Rohini Mani asked, oh, it's today a special day. Perhaps it is my birthday. So Rohini Ma said, no, it's not your birthday. It's also not Dalbaya's birthday. Move on, don't disturb. Ha, Ma, Maya. So he's talking to Yashoda Ma. What special day is it? Is there any special festival? So Mother Yashoda, they were very busy engaging all sevaks in cooking, making preparations, etc. Says, don't disturb. You can go and you can ask about this festival from your father. It's a very ancient tradition in our lineage. Ask your father for details. So Krishna and Dalbhai and other cowherd boys, they went to Maharaj Nandan, the elderly cowherd men. They were all busy making large facilities, gathering wood, making arrangements. All the Brahmins were preparing different things for doing stav and stuti and yagyas and everything else for the annual worship of Indradev. Why is Indra worship? Because in Veda, especially in Rig Veda, Indra is one of the most prominent of the devatas who's worshipped. So everyone, when they want to do basically any kind of yagya, Indra is the focus. But especially for those who are in the Gocharan community, like Nanda Baba and other Brijabasis, Indra, because he's the administrator of rain, is very important. In Bhagavad Gita it mentions, we subsist on grains. Grains come from rains. The rains are produced by the demigods. Therefore, yajna must be performed. You understand? This arrangement is there, so it's written in Sastra. So, Nanda Maharaj and others were following the tradition of their family lines to perform after Diwali, this wonderful festival. Then they do this puja to Indra for this purpose. So Krishna, having heard this from Nanda Baba and being close by as the men were working, he began asking questions. Listen, what is Indra's importance? Because if Indra, his biggest facility for us is that he makes rain, well, is he not making rain? And when he makes rain, it rains everywhere? Does it only rain in his Raj? Even it rains in the Jamuna, which doesn't require water. What to speak of Jamuna? Even it rains in the ocean, which requires no water. So really, is Indra particularly interested in us? Or is it just his job to make rain? And if it's just his job to make rain, why should we worry about any kind of special arrangement for his worship? Why not instead worship this Giriraj Govardhan? Why? Because this Govardhan, daily we see the facilities of Govardhan supplying so many wonderful grasses, supplying all kinds of minerals, supplying all kinds of caves during the rainy season. When we go out to take out cows, we take shelter in all these caves at Govardhan. Govardhan also provides many flowers for doing everything that we do, from puja to decorations with flowers. Many wonderful fruits and vegetables also grow on Govardhan. Govardhan is really our source of not only nourishment but happiness. The very name Govardhana. Go means senses. Whose senses? Gop, Gopi, right? Who gives happiness to the senses of all Gops and Gopis. He's called Govardhana, who expands their happiness. Why not worship Govardhan? So Maharaj Nanda said, listen, this is a very ancient tradition, and traditions must be followed, because when you break a tradition, you don't know what the outcome may be. Because we've seen, so Nanda Maharaj is giving a good philosophical argument. We've seen that by following this tradition, everything has gone well for us in this Braj. But now taking the chance to break this tradition, right? it could cause some problem. But understanding your desire, we will arrange another puja just for Govardhan. Krishna said, no, there's no time. Why should we waste time? If you accept the fact that everyone will only get anything according to their karma. In other words, all the cowherd men do puja, all the cowherd men do their daily duties. All Brijabasis follow the laws of Dharma. So by following the laws of Dharma, one will get punya. From punya, one will get good karma. What does Indra got to do with that? In other words, if we have good karma and these things are destined to come to us, what is Indra's position in relation to that? In this way, Krishna went through the 6 Vedic schools of philosophy, taking elements from each one and explaining to the cowherd men. At this time, Krishna is 7 years old. So all of the cowherd men, they were astonished. Krishna is always doing very amazing things, but they take for granted, well, when Garga came to do the naming ceremony of Krishna, he said, Nandastu Atmajo Narayana Shamaguna, that Krishna has qualities like Narayan. So when we see exceptional behavior in Krishna, we take it that this was already told by Garga. We also take that both Yashoda Mai and Nanda Baba have come from very esteemed families. We also know how religious they are. We also know what a special birth Krishna was because Nanda and Yashoda had to wait so long before they had a child. We also know because one ascetic lady, Purnamasi Devi, came and she gave blessings. So for many reasons we rationalize when Krishna does something exceptional. So as Krishna convinced them, then Nanda Maharaj said, okay, we will do right now with all the facilities, all the cooking that's already been made, we will do a ceremony to worship Govardhan. This ceremony is called Anukut. The word Ana here means grains, like rice, barley, halava, all kinds of grains and all kinds of things made from grains. Kut means a mountain. So they made mountains of preparations, which they had been making for Indra. They were now going to offer to Giriraj. But here I'm going to mention that Param Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Acharya Keshari, Srila Bhakti Pradhan Keshu Goswami Maharaj, he wrote an article, and in that article, he described the word Ana to mean Ana Brahma. Ana Brahma means spiritual nourishment. Spiritual nourishment here does not mean grains, it means Harikatha. It also means rasa. So you read this article, it's there on BVML. I can look it up afterwards if nobody else finds it, I'll look it up. But he described one verse from Vedanta describing Ana as Ana Brahma. Ana Brahma means Shabda Brahman, means Harikatha. Also, Ana Brahma means what nourishes those whose hearts are already full of prema. So for those who have prema in their hearts, Ana Brahma will be that thing which nourishes their prema for Krishna. So what the Brijabasis essentially did was make mountains of prema. Not mountains only of rice, chapatis, puris, halava, kachoris. They made mountains of prema. Every day that Krishna used to steal in the house of Brijabasis, he was not stealing only makkan. He was stealing the makkan that had been churned from the hearts of these elderly Brijabasi ladies. And this was their Vatsalya prema. Krishna only tastes prema. That's why I was traveling not too long ago. I was giving the description that in Guru Astakam, Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasad. Bhagavat Prasad here means Swat Anatriptam Haribhakta Sanghan. Here it doesn't only mean food grains or ana. It means nourishment through Harikatha. What kind of Harikatha? Harikatha that discusses 4 kinds of Bhagavat Madhuri. Lila Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri, Prem, Parika Madhuri. That Harikatha that discusses the glories of Bhagavan, that is the real nourishment for devotees. Therefore, we see devotees could fast for 7 days like Maharaj Rikit, not taking even water. And they were subsisting on Harikatha. So what is real nourishment? We're not like all the Shukadev Goswami. We have to be practical. So we will honor prasad according to our adhikar. Right? So, but this description has been given by our sadhus and by Guru Vargas. Ana means Harikatha, and in the case of Brijabasis, it means prem. So they made prem kut. Right? Not anakut, prem kut. And they were taking this prem in huge quantities and they were bringing it to offer to Giriraj Govardhan. So when they bring everything to offer to Giriraj Govardhan, they were singing very beautiful songs like today at our Radha Govinda Mandir. one devotee, Thakurji, is very wonderful devotee, very wonderful kirtaniya. He knows all Braj, Bas, Kirtans, everything. So he always creates such a beautiful atmosphere by singing all of these beautiful kirtans. So I imagine what was the mood of the original Anakut festival there in Braj, when Nanda Maharaj and all Brijabasis had come before Govardhan with millions and millions of offerings, of mountains of their praying in the form of rice, dal, chapatis, halava, so many different things. Laying everything at the feet of Giriraj Govardhan, they all began to pray and sing songs glorifying Giriraj. At that time, Giriraj manifested a form. What form did he manifest? The very form of Krishna. Now here we have to understand something. How will the Aishwarya Mayi Leela enter into this Braj? That Krishna, the small boy Krishna, will suddenly become the same size as Giriraj and sit on the top of Giriraj. This will not be bewildering? Why nobody thought this was bewildering? That the form that Giriraj took was the form of Krishna. Why didn't anybody think this was unusual? Because each Brijabasi in their heart, Giriraj is also called Sava Abhishtakari. He fulfills all desires. What desires do Brijabasis have? They only have the desire to serve Krishna. Therefore, each Brijabasi was meditating in their heart. Oh, I want to offer this to Krishna. I want to offer that to Krishna. So when they opened their eyes through the bhav in their hearts, they saw the form of Krishna in Giriraj Govardhan. You understand? This is how the form was appearing. Other than that, there would be some rasabas, because there would be Aishwarya, that Krishna manifested this huge form. You understand? So what manifested that form was in offering to Giriraj, if they were going to offer to Indra, they would have an idea. Oh, here's Indra sitting on the back of Airavata, carrying his Bradra, seated with his own consort. Glory to the Kadamba Kanana. Oh, there's so many stav and stuti for Indra, right? So they have some idea, what is Indra? But when they were approaching Giriraj, they were also thinking, yes, we also want to serve. But under whose desire are we serving this Giriraj? It's under Krishna's desire. We want to feed Krishna. Each gopi wants every day that Krishna should come to a house, and like Mother Yashoda and Rohini Ma, they can sit Krishna and Balaram down and personally put sweets in their mouth, everything. They wanted this. So Krishna's fulfilling that desire by them seeing that form. So that form that was on top of the mountain manifested from the bhav of Brijabasis. What is my proof for this? In Gopal Champu, it's described how Dwarka manifested. Jiva Goswami Pad said Dwarka seems to have come out of thin air, but no. Actually, when the Brijabasis heard about how Mathura was being attacked continuously by different huge armies of demons who were aligned with Kamsa Maharaj and Jarasandha after Kamsa was killed. At that time, they got together and they called all the Brahmins and they wanted to do a sacrifice for the protection of Krishna. When they were doing the sacrifice, each Brijabasi, as they would throw their grains, they would say, may Krishna be protected on all sides by a great moat, swaha. May Krishna be surrounded by water so no one can touch him, swaha. Oh, may no one ever be able to touch Krishna because he'll be living in a fortified, huge castle, swaha. So the desire of the Brijabasis came true. Therefore, all the Mathuravasis, they would sleep one night, and the next morning they woke up in Dwarka. What is Dwarka? Dwarakaha. From where has the door to this place come? Because they simply woke up in a new place. The power to make that happen was not Vishwakarma building it. It was the desire of Brijabasis to manifest it for protecting Krishna. So in the same way here, Brijabasis' desire to directly serve the mouth of Krishna was being fulfilled. Because Giriraj is also Sava Vishtakari. He fulfills all desires of devotees. So all the devotees seeing the huge form. So they all were offering to Krishna. Not only that, but directly in front of them, Krishna was reaching out his hands and he was taking all the offerings and he was eating and eating. And then Gurudev describes, he said, Anyor, Anyor, bring more, bring more. If anyone goes to someone's house and is a guest in someone's house, and that person cooks for you, how happy are they to see you when you eat your thali has been eaten completely, when your plate is completely, they bring, oh, some more? And you say, oh, a little more. They're very happy because they cooked for you all day. Very happy to see you taking, right? If they're honest persons, if they're duplicitous, critical persons, they just want to see how much you eat so they can criticize. But if not, if they're honest persons, then they want to see, oh, you've become happy by tasting what it is that I spent time to prepare and I offered to Thakurji. So in the same way, by saying Aniyor, Krishna was reciprocating with all the Brijabasis, bring more, bring more. When they exhausted everything they had, then they said, we've given everything. Krishna was so happy. This is the mood. Completely give everything you have. Then Krishna said, oh, bring just one tulasi leaf. Bringing one tulasi leaf, Krishna took that, took those Smee. He drank Ganga Jal from Manasi Ganga. I am completely satisfied. So all the Brijabasis now, everyone is in a completely ecstatic mood. They all decided to have a festival there at Giriraj Govardhan. How will they have a festival? They will do a parikrama of Govardhan. So they lined everyone up. They put all of the cows in the front. They did Go Puja, then put the cows in the front. Cowherd boys with all of their controlling sticks second. Then all of the Brahmins. Then the elderly cowherd men. Then the cowherd ladies. And in the back the younger gopis. And in this way they did parikrama all the way around Govardhan. Many sweet leelas take place within that. I'm not speaking them now for the sake of time. Wonderful festival is going on. All of a sudden, Indradev notices on his transcendental calendar, hey, I don't recall receiving the offerings of these Brijabasis. Every year at this time they make offerings, but I don't recall hearing any stav and stuti. I don't recall through Agni Dev receiving any offerings coming to Agni Dev, because all the demigods eat through the mouth of Agni Dev. I don't recall receiving anything. So then he sent one of his associates to go and find out what was happening. So one associate came and they looked and they saw, well, there definitely is a festival. And they saw, because when Krishna ate everything, also he remanifested everything, right? Because now all will take prasad. So he said, there's definitely a huge festival going on in this, but who did they offer it to? So he went back and he told Indra, well, there was an offering and there's a huge festival going on. Everyone is in a very ecstatic mood. So Indra said, how is it possible? They didn't offer to me. Would they dare to take the offering to any other devata on my day? Would they be so impudent? So then he thought about it. And in his meditation, he was able to, because he has also some mystic powers, Indra was able to realize this whole thing took place because one 7-year-old boy, who's a simple village boy among them, convinced all of these elderly people, including the Brahmins and priests, to neglect my offering and to offer everything I have to a mountain. Those same mountains who I've chastised in the past, they had nerve to not make my offering and offer to this mountain. Has everyone gone mad? So Indra said they must learn a lesson. So he called Shamantaka cloud. He called all of the weather associates who make the disastrous weather that takes place during the time of devastation or dissolution. Go down and you punish all these Brijabasis by wiping them all out. So everyone will take note that you should never neglect the dharma of making my offerings on time. So that time, heavy rain clouds came. They said the rain was so powerful that it was cutting through trees and breaking houses and harming the bodies of Brijabasis, everything, and the cows. So Krishna immediately, when he saw that, all the Brijabasis thought, first they thought, remember we said if we break the tradition, something may happen. So now everyone was a little in a panic. But Krishna, he told, listen, Govardhan, he proved to you now, just like Govardhan, he actually took his meal right in front of you. When you offer to Indra, does he ever come here and personally take his meal in front of you? Does he ever reciprocate with you? Never. But Govardhan showed you how much that he's willing to give you shelter and protection. He personally came and satisfied your desire by eating right in front of you. So have no fear. Giriraj will protect us. So then Krishna went, and with the palm of his hand, his left hand, he lifted up Giriraj. And when he lifted up Giriraj, everybody was in shock. They were in amazement. What's going on here? So then everybody had doubts. Wait a minute, how is it possible that you're holding this Giriraj at the same time? The weather was beating down on them. Lightning was coming. The winds and the torrential rains were so much, so they were so bewildered. But they were looking at Krishna holding Giriraj on his palm, and at the same time dealing with the extraordinary storm that was sent by Indra. So Krishna said, listen, don't fear. I'm telling you this hill is not heavy at all. So he transferred the hill from the palm of his hand, because if you look at any deity of Natarajji, you see Natarajji's palm is like this, right? So then what did Krishna do to prove that he was capable of holding Giriraj? He transferred from his left palm to his pinky. And now seeing the hill bounced on his pinky, Brijabasis gained some faith, and they all came under the shelter of Giriraj. Once they came under the shelter of Giriraj, they were even more amazed. We thought we would find under here so many snakes, mud, dirt, tree roots, so many things. But what did they see? When they entered into Giriraj, there was a crystal staircase. When they looked, there were jeweled pillars. There were fresh crystal-like waterfalls which were flowing from upper side of Giriraj. There were so many beautiful flowers and fruits and all kinds of things blossoming. What was Krishna doing? He revealed what is the glory of Giriraj. The whole world thinks, no, only one mountain is there. No, inside this Giriraj is all of the beauty of the seva mood towards his Sri Krishna Bhagavan and Srimati Radhika. So he showed the Brijabasis this. They all came under and they were amazed. Then two things happened simultaneously. All of the Brijabasis had to gather in, the millions of Brijabasis, so they all gathered in very close. And this was wonderful because Krishna, I'm sorry for going a little late, but bear with me. Krishna planned this. During the time of the chastising of Kaliya Nag at Kaliya Daha, at that time Krishna noticed something. Whenever there's a national emergency, nobody minds if the gopis and Krishna come somewhat in close proximity and exchange glances, everything, because it's a natural emergency. Just like if we have a natural emergency, sometimes we have to do extraordinary things we would not do. For instance, we may have to crowd into a shelter somewhere, and men and women will be in such close proximity. It would not normally take place, but under the conditions, everybody accepts it, and nobody complains. Same way, when Krishna chastised Kaliya, right, all the Brijabasis came. I don't want to backwards and go to this katha because it will even take longer. But long story short, the young gopis had just come into their maturation. This is the beginning of Purvarag, and this is the first time that they see Krishna in his maturation as a charming young man. And he becomes the source of their attraction on a conjugal level like this. So Krishna dances on the heads of Kaliya to inspire this mood in the gopis that in a future time you will also want to dance with me. That's making the whole thing short. But Krishna also marked that after Kaliya was chastised and the atmosphere near Kaliya Daha was purified, then he made a plan. We should all spend the night here and have a wonderful picnic. So he realized that in these kind of conditions, we can all be in close proximity. But unfortunately, two servants of Kamsa who had witnessed that Kaliya did not kill Krishna, they set that place on fire afterwards, and Krishna was forced to swallow the fire. Maharaj Nanda, the Brijabasis, then said, oh, we should return to our homes, etc. But Krishna made a note that whenever there's a national emergency like this, we can all gather together. So now, through the agency of bewildering Indra, Indra will not only become bewildered, but Brahma is also bewildered. Why? Srimad Bhagavatam states, Tane Brahma Ridadikavaye Muyanti Yat Suryo. Suryo in Sanskrit means plural. So all the suras, demigods, sages, they're all bewildered by the charm of Sri Krishna's Naravat Leela, his human-like pastimes. So this came also in the heart of Indra. He became bewildered observing the Naravat Leela of Krishna. If he was observing Narayan Leela, different thing, but he observed the Naravat Leela of Krishna, he became bewildered. And by pride, he thought he would chastise. So now everyone was comfortably gathered under this Giriraj Govardhan. And Krishna took this opportunity to glance over all of the beautiful Kripa Kataksh that was coming from all the different gopis. And finally his eyes landed on Radhika. And he wanted to lower his eyes. When he lowered his eyes, if you lower your eyes from the face down, you come across something else. So when Krishna came across that, Krishna began to tremble. When he began to tremble, suddenly the mountain began to shake. At the same time, Indra had come on Airavata at that time. And when he came on the back of Airavata, he was looking and seeing what was going on. So he said, just like those other mountains, I cut off their wings. But you, because of your impudence and giving shelter to these Brijabasis, I'll destroy you completely. So he took his thunderbolt and he continuously rained the thunderbolt on Giriraj. But because Giriraj was being held by the lotus hand of Krishna, and he was engaged in serving all the Brijabasis by bringing them together, he was in such an ecstatic mood. Every time that Indra hit him with a thunderbolt, he only felt another ecstatic symptom and his body would begin to shake due to ecstasy. So Krishna's glancing at the neck down of Radhika and also Indra's thunderbolts hitting Giriraj made it shake. Immediately at that time, all the Brijavasi men, they thought, let us give Krishna a hand. And they began to lift up their sticks, their cowherding sticks, and they also held Giriraj. All the cowherd boys also held up their sticks to hold Giriraj. In this way, all the Brijavasis blissfully were absorbed. All the elderly gopis had a chance to personally come by during this time and feed Krishna. They were going by giving butter, snacks and everything to different people because everybody was 7 days, long time. So they were feeding each other everything. So they were all very happy because they all got a turn to feed Krishna. Right? So not only did they feed Krishna when he took the form of Govardhan, but now they were also feeding him when he was holding Govardhan Hill. So then a question came. After Govardhan Leela was finished, Indra was chastised, his pride was broken. He went to Brahma. Brahma told him, listen, I already made this mistake myself, and Krishna completely ignored me. When Brahma came down on the back of his Hanksa, and he was praying to Krishna all of his prayers, Tatyanukampam, Sushamikshama, all these different prayers. Krishna simply held a piece of yogurt in his hand, and he only looked here and there for his cowherd boys. In other words, he wasn't paying any attention to Brahma. So Brahma realized, I am insignificant compared to the high class of devotees here in this Braj. So he told Indra, listen, if I was you, I would not go alone. I would go and I would take, like when we approach Krishna to descend, we took Bhumi and Bhumi took the form of a cow. You should go, take one cow with you. Who is the queen mother of all the cows? Surabhi. So Indra went and took Surabhi. Long story short, he came at Govinda Kund. He gave Abhishek and gave the name Govinda, everything, right? But now I want to speak something that happened afterwards also. This is the last thing for the night. At that time, everyone was perplexed of how Krishna had held up this hill for 7 days. Oh, Nanda Baba, we know what Gagarishi said, but some things are just extraordinary and difficult to explain. So all the elderly Brijavasi ladies, they began to laugh. Oh, don't worry about it. It's not such a big thing. Krishna held up this hill. Kacho Makkana Bhala Baro. He held the hill because we came and we were feeding him Makkan. Throughout his entire life, he was stealing butter from our houses. And in this way, he was able to become very strong. It's easy for him to lift this hill. What other child would eat as much Makkan and butter as Krishna? Therefore, he had immense strength. So then the cowherd men said, yes, but you cannot attribute doing such a feat only to eating butter. Kacho Makkana Bhala Baro, Kacho Ko Kisai. We took out cowherding sticks. And when we saw that Krishna was struggling, we aided him. Millions of strong cowherd men. We lifted that hill by putting our sticks up and holding it steady. The cowherd boys then said, no, we also contributed. We also took our sticks and held up. Then Lalita Vishaka began to laugh. Lalita's whispering to Vishaka and whispering to Radhika. Everybody was smirking and laughing. So then Madhu Mangal turned and asked Lalita, what is so funny? No, it's not because of butter. It's not because of you holding your sticks. Kacho Makkana Bhala Baro, Kacho Ko Kisai, Kishori Ji Ki Kripa Se, Girivarali Utai. The way this Govardhan Hill was held for 7 days was by the merciful glance of my Swamini. Shri Radhika's glance is so powerful. Simply by indication of looking at Govardhan, she gave the indication, don't you dare fall and bring any harm to Krishna and Brijavasis. Because my glance is so powerful, I can burn you to ashes in a minute. What Indra's thunderbolt could never accomplish, only by my glance I could accomplish. So Madhu Mangal went into a fit of laughter. What kind of ridiculous idea is this? You're looking at millions of strong cowherd men and strong cowherd boys like me. And you're saying that your Kishori only by her eyes was holding up this entire hill? This is nonsense. Long story short, he made a challenge. Can you show how strong the glance of your Swamini is compared to our strength? So he said, you make any arrangement you like. Listen, rather than having a huge competition, let's have a competition one-on-one. I will take my Saka over your Soki any day. So we can arrange a wrestling match, because in a wrestling match, you can truly see who's stronger. So Lalita immediately objected. No. What kind of arrangement you're making? You simply want to arrange for your lusty friend to touch my Swamini? Never will happen. To touch my Saki, this will never happen. So Bandama said, no. But you told that your Suki's glance is so powerful. So how is it possible that my Suki will even touch your Suki? If your Suki could hold up a mountain without directly touching it by a glance, why are you afraid that my Suki will even get a chance to touch your Suki? So in this way, they later on arranged a wrestling match. I'm not going into details here because it is very late. But long story short, in that wrestling arena, it is summarized by Lord Shiva in Kripakataksha Stava. Anangaranga mangalam prasanga bangura bhavam savibrabam sashabravam juganta banapantanai nirantaram vasikrita pratitti nandanandane kata karisha sihamam kripa kataksha bhajanam. That Krishna, when he entered that wrestling arena, at that time, he was fully enthusiastic to wrestle. He thought that he could have some sway. But as soon as Radhika pulled back her veil and her eyes contacted Krishna, Savibrabam Sashabrabam, he became completely bewildered. And in this way, he came completely under the control of Srimati Radhika. What did he do? Yasha Kataksha Savagata Vimuchita Sha, Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says. Having the glance of Radhika touch Krishna, Vimuchita means he fainted. Boom. In this way, Nirantaram Vasikritva, just as Radhika always does. Pratitti Nandanandane, she brought Krishna completely under her control. So we all offer our humble obeisances and pray for the mercy of that Kripakataksha, that merciful sidelong glance of Radhika. This Govardhan, it is the most high class of worship for any devotee. Mahaprabhu himself gave Giriraj and Gunjamala to Raghunath Das Goswami, who's our Prayojanacharya. It's also mentioned there. Vina Bhavet Kim Horidas Savarya Padasrayam Bhak Ratasrayami Yam Eva Saprema Nijeshayo Shi Govardhano Me Dishtam Abhi. There's no other way to get actual praying for Krishna unless one takes shelter of this Giriraj Govardhan. So if you want to obtain pure prema bhakti, you have to take shelter of the lotus feet of bona fide sadhu guru, rasik bhavuk sadhu guru. They will then give you the shelter of Shri Giriraj Govardhan, Shri Vrindavan Dham, the lotus feet of Shri Rupa Manjari, all the way to the lotus feet of Radha, Srimati Radhika. In this way, you can obtain the highest degree of Krishna Prem in service to Srimati Radhika. So, Jai Giriraj Govardhan ki, Govardhan Puja ki. So, again, I apologize to devotees. I went way over. I'm extremely sorry. But I wanted to cover both things.
No, Mukunda, there's no need to be sorry. What are you talking about?
Boomy, I just feel bad because I think I'm using devotees' times. Devotees have
Sorry, you
plans.
stopped it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Answered my prayers. I'm born on Govardhan Puja, and so I wanted to hear this katha.
Oh, so.
I canceled my class to hear it.
That's the sorry thing is you stopping now. That's the sorry.
All right. But Vancha Kalpataruvisha Kripa Shinnabevacha Patina Pavnio Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So some devotees can stay on the. No, Boomy, we can stay on the phone conference. We'll stay on the phone conference, but I'm going to end the Facebook conference because you have people in all different places.
I have a quick question.
Hold on 1 second, Didi. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and end the Facebook Live because I know devotees are in all different places and, different times and people have different schedules. But feel free to write down any questions you have and we can bring them up in next class. So like I said, you can always inbox me, etc. So my Dandavat Pranam and my asking for devotees to please give me your mercy on this Govardhan Puja to allow me to have some nishta to the lotus feet of my Paramaradja, Guru Pada Padma, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to our Srila Prabhupada and to our Rupanuga Guru Vaga, Sachinandan Gaurahari, and onto the lotus feet of my Shri Radha Vallabhju. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki, Jai Shri Radhe. Devotees can stay on the phone conference.